back.
Episode 20.
You made the comment, Josh, that's been going by really quick. And it's true.
Yeah.
You've been doing like 2 or 3 a week.
It does. It makes them add up quickly, man. But I like talking to people, you know.
I know,
So.
I do too.
All right, so we got some awesome guests tonight, which I'm psyched to talk to you. And that's the results we are actually allowed to talk about from WAL, which is the amateur winners, or at least a couple of them. So we have Wayne over here, who I don't know if he's going to show up on your right or left. Wayne's wearing a hat. So that's how you can tell who Wayne is. And then we got Ryan, who's not wearing a hat, and who's not John and is not me. So there you go. I mean, Lucas, Raymond, and is not John, not me.
No.
So now that I've cleared up all the confusion.
You can confirm that they're not us?
Yes, they're
all right,
definitely not us.
It's a good place to start.
So Wayne, let's start with you, man.
Now.
Wayne, let's start with you,
Sounds
dude.
good.
So what class were you in? How did you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
I competed in the heavyweight class. It's from 196 to 225. Pretty stacked class. Fortunately enough, I was able to take first place. Wasn't easy to get. Training, I was able to come on top. So it's a great experience.
So how many tournaments have you done?
In total, 7, 8. I've been arm wrestling now for about a year and a half. I went to my first one. It was Europa here in Phoenix, and it was kind of it's kind of funny. Some guys learned about it at my work that I work with before I did, and said, "Hey man, you're pretty good. Why don't you go check it out?" So I went, took second in amateurs, and ended up meeting Phoenix Arms, my team, and they kind of took me in, and I've been doing it ever since.
Very cool. So style, hooker, top roll, what do you do?
Whatever it takes to win. What I told myself when I got involved in the sport, after learning those different styles, of course, is for me it's pertinent to be as well-rounded as I can be in a year and a half. You know, train a hook, train a top roll, high hook, low top roll, etc. And not that I've perfected anything by any means, but I've took it upon myself to just be as well-rounded as I can be. You know, in the little time I've been involved in the sport. So wherever the match takes me, that's where I go.
So you pull with Chad Lundy at all?
Yeah, I know Chad Rubo.
Chad's my
yeah,
boy.
He lives,
I trained with him for a couple of years.
Oh, nice. He lives about an hour from me, but we see each other every so often. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I like Chad a lot. Yeah, he started on Team Dungeon when I was back in Connecticut. He lived in Rhode Island, and he used to come down and train with us. So I know Chad very well.
Awesome.
Dude, I was there when he broke his arm at Nationals. That was tough.
That was a boy.
He was pulling Kevin Nelson. He was giving a hell of a match, too. They were in a deep hook.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard the horror story, and I've seen the scar a couple of times, and I try to avoid it every time I see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, the weirdest break I've ever seen in my life because it was in great position. He was just in a hook. It was just weird, man.
Wow, that's a little scary.
That was awful.
How about you, Lucas?
Well, been pulling for about 6.5, 7 months. The WAL was my 6th tournament. I have no training partners. I've been to 3 random practices. One of them was let's hurt each other's arms until you can't feel it anymore, and the other 2 were kind of actually technique, but straight hook puller for now.
Okay.
Very little practice with top roll, anything else. Coming from grip sport, which I've been doing for 3 years, I found that my hand and wrist are a lot stronger than everybody else's, so I can get them into a hook without a problem. But I have short forearms, so the top roll is sometimes hard for me to get to in practice because of that.
Yeah. So you're in the 165s, 195s?
195. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 195 right hand only. Left hand is still a little behind. Should have tested it. I did qualify, but I didn't feel like I was ready for it yet.
Oh, yeah. So tell me what you guys thought of the tournament. How did it? I mean, how many people were there? Did you guys lose any matches? Did you feel like it was hard, or did you feel like you blew through those guys? What do you think?
There was the classes were pretty stacked. I mean, I think there were a lot of guys who, and this is just my opinion, that wanted to showcase their talent in this whole amateur thing this year.
Right.
So there's a lot of guys that were in attendance. I'm not going to say I breezed through it. I mean, you know, all the training definitely paid off for sure. But there's some guys that I think are going to be around for a while that I met that were in my class, and hopefully they are. You know, but overall, I mean, it was awesome. You know, just the whole experience and get a chance to kind of network and meet everybody and showcase what you got, and hopefully, you know, I'll be around and you'll hear more of me in the near future.
Oh, I'm sure you
So,
will.
did you? I mean, a lot of people were talking online. This question's for both of you guys. That there were quite a few people in the classes that were not amateurs, or people had been arm wrestling for several years and had been in pro tournaments and other areas of the country or in other federations. Obviously, you guys are both new, both being in the sport for a year or so. But did you feel like there was a lot of talent there that shouldn't have been?
Me or Lucas?
Either one of you.
Yeah, Luke, you can start.
Go ahead, Lucas.
Well, I felt like even though I've been pulling for a short time, I feel like I'm kind of in between that gray area where you fall between amateur and pro. I've won every tournament I've been in my weight class, and I felt like, but only having 6 months, I don't really have enough knowledge. So I did feel a lot stronger than everybody, not to like kind of boast, but I didn't really have a real hard match. I think it was 20 seconds for 6 matches, but. Left-handed would have been a different story.
Right.
Probably went 0-2 in that, but.
Did you pull Ryan Beth?
Yeah, I beat him in the technically winners bracket final to send him to the losers bracket, and then I beat him twice in the finals.
And that was the easy match as well.
I just controlled him with my hand, and he wasn't able to do anything against it. So.
Good for you, man.
It felt good. I mean, it was a great atmosphere, especially once you got into the pit in the finals. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing that is going to benefit both of you quite a bit, is that the next time when you are in the open class, pro class, when you go to a big tournament for your first time, it won't be your first time to be at a big tournament. You won't have those nerves going, oh my God, everybody's watching me, this is huge. Right. You have that experience now. So I think that's phenomenal to have an atmosphere that will either match or be even maybe a little like better than the next time you're in a class that really does, that's like testing you.
Yeah,
sure. Definitely a little more comfortable. I mean, I don't know about you, Lucas, but I know for me, right before the finals, when we get ready to call my name, I was a little nervous. Okay, here we go. But I'm sure next time we'll probably be a little more humble, a little more relaxed, with this experience. So
that's a normal process.
And it's hard to lose it because it means you actually care about it.
Right.
It's just you learn when to start feeling it, and you're like you don't feel it, you don't feel it, you don't feel it. They call your name, and then you feel it, right? So it's not like you're not sitting there jittery an hour before the tournament, and then by the time they call your name, you're exhausted. You'll be able to control all those feelings a little bit better.
Oh, I was jittery way more than an hour before.
Oh yeah, of course. You're probably the night before. You're probably sitting there shaking.
Couldn't even sleep. So excited, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though, man. I mean, that's the way you want it to be, because then you're into the sport. It's exciting. It's something you're really going to train hard for and continue to improve when you have those kinds of feelings.
Absolutely.
And trying to make weight.
Trying to make weight. Oh, is that hard for you guys? Did either of you guys have to cut hard or?
Like 13 pounds in 10 days, which isn't terrible, but I'm just not used to cutting weight at all for anything. I mean, grip sport's 205, so that's like 3 pounds. I can cut that and taking a pee in the morning.
Right. Yeah, the old weight cut is never fun.
No, I don't know.
How about you, Wayne?
So
I usually walk around at 220, so I just sort of maintained where I was at.
Okay.
Ate kind of heavy the night before, went to sleep, and
you're making all these guys
in that regard.
You're making all these guys, you're making all these guys have to cut so mad.
Some guys probably hate me for that because I have to go through the pains.
I had a banana
But,
for the whole 24 hours before.
I'm pretty lucky. I got pretty lucky on that one. So
Yeah.
You are lucky. I'm in this exact same boat as you, Lucas. I walk around at like 207 to 210 depending on the day. So for WAL, I have to cut as much weight as you do, and it really sucks.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of questions coming in for you guys online. One of them is, I know you said, Lucas, you don't really train with a team, but there's a question about, do your teams have like a rule of thumb on how many tournaments you win before you should move to open, or what the appropriate time is according to your teammates? Now, Lucas, I don't know if you can answer that just for what your personal impression is now that you've won WL, but I'd like to hear, from both of you guys about it.
Well, I kind of they wouldn't let me in the amateur class in the Erie qualifier. Bart Wood, he said, you've already had too much success, so if you're going to pull, you got to pull pro now, even though it was still a WAL qualifier. It was a small, there wasn't a lot of people. There was only 7 or 8 people in each class, so I understood that, but I ended up actually that's where I qualified left-handed and took second, but there was only 4 of us in the class, so it's not like I had much there. My theory was I wanted to get at least a good knowledge of the sport, of how to obviously not get in a bad position to hurt myself, because that was my number one thing that I didn't want to worry about. But also the understandings of some of the basic techniques of the sport. It's crazy advanced. Between talking to James, Storm Cellino, all those guys, I've learned a lot just talking to them, not necessarily being on a table with them, but absorbing it. Read the Strong Arm Tactics book twice. First time I read it, I really didn't have any knowledge of the sport, and then I actually read it on the plane ride to Vegas, and that actually helped. But I'd say, I feel comfortable now. I feel like I'd have at least a fair chance against some of the pros. Obviously, those elite guys, I feel like I'm still miles away. They're just ungodly strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I live up here in the Northeast, and Rob Vigent and Storm Cellino and Bill Sinks and George Sheldrick and Adam Burrup are all up here. Well, Adam just moved, so it's I know exactly what you mean. You feel good against most people, and then you have like this god level, and when you go up against them, it's just like they treat you like a child.
Yeah, my second tournament ever, I decided to pull pro, and I had Storm first match. I've known Storm, and so we're like. I was like, I'll try to hit, and if I don't move you, I'm just going to give up. So, which is exactly what happened. I didn't even move his arm. So I was like, yep, not worth the energy.
I've had that pleasure a few times, and he's very nice about it. He's like, okay, you done? Okay. Boom,
Yeah, Storm's a gentleman, that's for sure.
Looks like we just lost Wayne there.
Wayne, dude.
Lucas, you're the whole show now, man. I hope you're ready.
Yeah, it's all on you.
I can take the weight. While we have you on here,
I have a kitten, if that matters.
Oh, I can get my cat too.
Oh, God.
So, Craig is. Oh, you just found that cat today?
Yeah, literally.
That's pretty cool. Little rescue kitten. See, he's got a heart too, ladies and gentlemen. He's a good arm wrestler, and he's got a good heart. You gotta love it.
Thank you.
So Bryan says he's online now, John. I don't know if you want to try adding him in.
Let's do it.
But in the meantime. Lucas, so Craig Soulier is on here saying that you make some great training gear. What's he talking about?
Well, I started Brandon Elsesser. Was requesting the first handle the first handle I made was a wrist wrench replica, but I don't like the feeling of PVC, so I made it out of steel. Okay. And being in a grip sport, everything that we handle is usually steel or some sort of metal material. So the PVC just didn't feel good to me. So that's the first equipment I made was actually an exact replica of that 2 3/8 external diameter, just to mimic the same thing. So, I still do make that. I make it in a 2-inch and a 2 3/8 if people want it. I don't really push that very much because I don't want to infringe on the wrist wrench as much as. Right. If they ask, I'll say no, not a big deal. But the other handle that I came up with it's called a top roll eliminator. It's more for a flat finger pressure. For like top roll resist. And Brandon, he's like, do you know of any handles that anybody makes? He's like, Igor makes one, but it's like $120 or something like that, and it's ridiculous. I'm like, well, I said I can try to make something that's kind of similar, but not exactly the same. And so I ended up making that. I have one out in the truck, but I can go grab it later if that's the case. But I also started making a pulley system that attaches put a bracket on the bottom of the table, and then you actually put the pulley system on it, and it actually has it has a bicep curl, and then you can also revolve an arm that you can work on side pressure. It's a similar product that Sean Blarton in Canada makes. Just something that I made. Mike Aiello wanted one, and he's like, "Hey, can you make this?" And it was just randomly, and I made it. I know that there's a big difference in Canada prices for materials, so that's what everybody's biggest concern was, is that the prices are so much higher in Canada versus here, because I can sell it for what he can make it for, and I can still make a decent profit. Anybody in Canada, I always say, nope, go to him. I'm not going to ship it across the border.
Yeah. You don't have one in the room that you're in, do you? One of those handles?
I have it's in the side room. Let me go grab it.
Yeah, go grab it.
Yeah, why not?
So, yeah, these other guys, Wayne and Bryan, we're going to try to get it back on here, but, the world being what it is, and electronics and internet signals and all that stuff, you might have to just look at our ugly faces and maybe one other person, but you're used to that. Look how fast he's back. This guy's fast, too. He could sprint as well as raise kittens and arm wrestle. So that's 3 skills he's got.
All right, so I actually make the handle to fit also a cone handle. So this actually, I make 3 handles that fit on this one bar. I make a thicker, a 2 3/8 or whatever size you want, that it's more of like an offset cupping handle, but also, the cone. But then here is the top roll eliminator. So just working on.
Right.
Igor's is much shorter, and it's a much steeper angle, which I didn't like. I thought you needed something a little flatter, a little longer to get some more finger pressure. Just kind of came up with that idea, just welded it together. Self-taught welder, that was the first time I actually welded when I built that for Brandon. So, and now I've sold a whole bunch of them to just random people, whoever wants them, orders them. I try to keep it affordable, because I know a lot of people that this handle's $100 for a handle is a lot.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
$60 shipped anywhere in the U.S., you can have it.
That's pretty cool, though, man.
Then you start adding the other handles, and $20-$30 extra for each handle. But
So you were a grip guy.
yes.
What's your best lifts?
So I've closed a 3.5 Captain and Crush gripper with 20 millimeter set, no credit card set or anything like that. 350 pounds on the axle. I just don't know how familiar people are with the grip lifts. I've pulled 223 on a 2-hand pinch device.
Okay.
I have current world records of the sledgehammer choke deadlift and the pickaxe deadlift, which is all radial deviation lifting. That's the overall world record, not just a weight class.
Dude, that's impressive, man. I know what most of those things are, but not all of them. Yeah. And that explains a lot, because it's going to be extremely hard for most people to deal with your hand with those kinds of lifts.
I have an 8-inch hand. I don't have an extremely large hand, but I honestly felt like not one person had anything to offer for my hand and wrist, which makes arm wrestling a lot easier when you have that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're getting someone back on here, huh?
So I've been training.
Go ahead, Lucas.
I said, so I've been
welcome
training.
back, Wayne.
Sorry about that,
Yeah,
guys.
welcome back, man.
My bad.
It's all good.
So not
all right.
having any training partners, I've been just focusing on doing band work, cable work with the handles, working on a table, working on position. I did actually go to Charlotte to meet with James one afternoon, coming back from South Carolina. That honestly helped me more than anything. That one day of technique, basic information, getting my elbow in the right spot, getting my hand positioning in the right spot. I felt so much more comfortable down in Las Vegas after that day.
Yeah, when you get rid of some of that jitteriness of just not knowing anything about what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, if you can learn how to apply what you got, that's really all this, that's what this is. And then, learn how to build what you don't have, right? So, yeah, if you can get it on the table with somebody who is knowledgeable and also kind enough to, share what they know, because that's what James is. He's that guy.
Yeah.
So, definitely a big help.
And he's also gotten into grip sport, so I actually met him through grip sport, not necessarily arm wrestling.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sure. Where are you going to pull next, Lucas?
Well, I wanted to go to the Dave Chafee contest on August 13th, but there's a grip contest in Ohio the same exact day, and there's two guys from Finland coming to actually compete, and I wanted to meet them. So I don't know if I might actually just go to both and not compete in either, just to kind of meet people. I'm actually going to be in Rhode Island next weekend.
Oh, we'll see you there.
Yep.
For the Perform Better conference. Not actually. I'll go to the arm wrestling tournament too. I'm going to the tournament.
Oh, okay.
I'm not competing, but I'm going to the tournament. I want to see who's going to lose their beard.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we have a tournament August 6th in Boston if you feel like driving over to that.
Ooh, that's 2 weekends in a row. I don't know if I'll be able to make that.
You can just stay. Just stay for the week. Josh has room.
That's right. I have room. Everybody's welcome. What about you, Wayne? When's your next tournament?
I think there's a couple of local tournaments here. I think the next one is next month sometime. I'm not sure of the date, but after that, I don't really know of anything going on. I think there might be a couple in California, which I might be interested in. But for right now, just keep training and keep working hard and do all I can to prepare for the next big tournament, whenever that is, of course.
So that's our favorite subject here. If you guys have probably seen me watch the shows, is training. So I'd love to hear from both of you what your approach is to training, how often you are doing table time versus lifting, and what kind of stuff you do in general. So Wayne, we can start with you because we lost you for a few minutes, and tell us what you do. Yeah.
Well, I work out anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week. I try to do 2 a days, at least 3 of those 4 or 5 days. If I don't, I'm working out, 2.5 hours at a time. So I invest a lot of time training. I probably get table time once a month, if that. Okay. Sometimes not at all. And as far as what I do specifically, I spend a lot of time focusing on my hand, fingers, a lot of band work, pull-ups, country crush, a lot of rowing, side pressure, back pressure, stuff like that. It's the past year and a half I've noticed my regiment change over and over and over again, going from just working bench press and biceps and triceps to doing things that I never would have thought I'd be doing, a year and a half ago. So for me, hand strength is huge for me in a match. If you can control the hand, then I think you're in good shape for the most part. But, so in a year and a half, obviously, I'm only going to accomplish so much. But, again, like we talked about earlier, I've tried to just incorporate some type of training for every style that I know how to do, hook, top roll, so to be as versatile as I can. And that way, if I come across a badass top roller, I can counter, or vice versa to a hook. Right. So for me, that's important, to incorporate in my training. But yeah, and thus far, what I've done has worked, and I'll keep doing that.
Yeah, for me, when you talk about versatility, I think it's important to be versatile, obviously, but there's obviously specialists that are very, very good and very successful too, right? But for me, like as far as versatility goes, it's just more sport, right? I love arm wrestling, so if I can learn how to arm wrestle more ways, it's just more fun. So and of course that obviously has a good payoff for, like you said, if you meet that guy who you can't top roll, well, guess what? I might be able to hook him. It might feel like a whole different guy if I do that. So
absolutely,
yeah, I think the versatility is good. I think in some ways, I don't know if it's. I felt like for a little while versatility was a dying thing, and I was kind of really happy about it because I was a versatile guy. But it seems like everybody's been talking about it a little bit more, so hopefully it's coming up, coming on the comeback a little bit here.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. And and like you said, some guys are great at one thing. I train often with some guys. A good friend of mine, Miguel Ortega, he's a badass hooker. I to this day can't touch him in a hook, but if I top roll him, the story changes. So some guys are successful in what they do and their way of training. But for me, in my training, I think the versatility has worked for me thus far.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot to do with body type too. Some guys some guys are going to be built towards certain things. But also, when it comes to training partners, like you said, this guy's great in a hook, can't touch him in a hook, but I can work top roll. That's a great training partner to have, too, because I look at my training partners oftentimes like they're machinery. So I got my hook machine, I got my top roll machine, and then I got my versatile machine. This guy can do anything he wants. You know, it really prepares you for when you get that one guy who is a specialist. I know exactly what to do with this guy because I have a training partner that's exactly like that guy.
Yep.
So definitely.
Fortunately enough for me, you know, there's guys that are pretty damn good in both.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been fortunate enough to learn from guys that top row and guys that hook and how to counter and how to hook and, you know, stuff like that. So
yeah.
Right, exactly, and counter. So I've been lucky in that regard, you know, and thus far it's helped me be successful in the few tournaments that I've been a part of.
Nice.
How about you, Lucas? What do you do for training?
I
My general,
yeah,
pretty much pick things up and put them down. So yeah, basically the four main powerlifting movements are my basic everyday exercise. So I train for about 4 days a week. They'll only be about 30 to 40 minutes, but then I'll do grip work, which being in grip sport, I'll do that. I might do that for 2 hours on top of that. I've done 4-hour workouts.
Wow.
I've just recently, the last 2 months, started adding like arm wrestling specific grip work versus just general grip work. But so still do, I mean, the bench, dead, overhead press, squats, just that normal work. I don't know if I'll go against that just because if I'm going to continue in grip sport, I mean, I need to be able to deadlift, axle deadlift. I need to be able to do that stuff. It sucks when you're trying to lose weight because then you build some leg muscles, even though mine aren't large. I mean, you look at some other people that have very small legs, they can make weight easier.
RVJ.
I was just going to say that, but...
Well, not a bad
He
example.
pisses me off because he walks around at like 198. He looks like a freaking gorilla from his waist up.
Humongous.
You know what I mean? And his legs are very thin. No offense, RVJ, but we're all jealous
There's
of
like
that.
a 28 waist pants.
Exactly. So, all right, I got a couple questions coming in for you fellas. Let's see here. First of all, which is a good one for both of you guys, who is your biggest inspiration for arm wrestling, or who brought you into the sport, or both?
You can start with Wayne. I think we talked
Go ahead,
to
Wayne,
Lucas
yeah.
a little bit with James there.
My biggest inspiration.
Don't say yourself.
No. I'll answer this in two different ways. When I compete, my biggest inspiration are my kids. You know,
Okay.
my kids are my foundation, my world. You know, they're what I think about, and it helps me and gives me that extra boost of adrenaline when I'm competing and wanting to smash somebody's hand against that pin pad. Who got me involved in the sport is a good friend of mine who I talked about earlier, was Miguel Ortega.
Okay, yeah, I
I
know.
saw him at the Europa. I first competed in a year and a half ago, and he's actually the guy that I saw for first place in amateurs and got my ass kicked. But right after that, we started talking, and he invited me to practice. And also, Eric Wolf is really where we practice at. It's his house, so he was, you know, nice enough to have us all at his house for the past year and a half, and to help us and the training and all that good stuff. So, thank yous to both of them. But yeah, you know, like I said earlier, if it wasn't for guys like those two, you know, to teach me and to be in my corner and to help and things like that, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. You know, as far as my current knowledge of the sport, not that I know everything, because I'm far from that, but you know, they've definitely helped in the past year and a half. So.
Yeah, for sure. Eric's a very accomplished arm wrestler for sure.
Yes.
People know him as a hook puller, but he can, you know, he's pretty versatile. He can do other things.
He can. He's stronger than hell.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Like I said, you know, for him to allow, you know, 20, 30 guys every Saturday at his house, you know, to come train is awesome to me. You know, and we've kind of become like a big family. So definitely big thanks to those guys for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Lucas?
I mean, James is one of the people that kind of helped me into the sport, but he's not one of the original people. Eric
James.
Eric Rusin, who actually is also a high-level grip competitor.
Oh, yeah.
At Grip Nationals 2014, we were just messing around on a plyo box, just arm wrestling, a few of us, Robert Miller from down in James's way.
Yep.
And then I actually pulled Eric a little bit, and obviously I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and he was able to stop anything I could do. But he's like, "You're actually pretty strong. You should try it." And I mean, and it was not until almost November of 15 that I actually finally said, "You know what? Screw it. I'm going to a tournament. I know it's 3 hours away. Never even seen a table in person. I'm going to go and see what it's like." And basically went there, had great success, and loved it. And here today because of it. Just finally just took that chance one day and said, "Screw it. I'm going."
Yeah.
So do you think that you will, I mean, where do you think it's going to, what kind of role is it going to play in your future? I mean, you're trying to divide your time between grip sporting and arm wrestling. Do you think you're going to, start going towards one or the other, or try to do both?
Eric's, like, I talked to him about it. He says it's very difficult to do grip because arm wrestling makes you sore. Doing grip makes me a little sore, but when you're arm wrestling and your tendons hurt, trying to do anything grip anywhere near max is just destroys. Like, you can't do it. It just hurts too much.
For sure.
I'd like to do both. I like both. The part that, I mean, you go to a grip contest, you kind of know the events, you train for the events, so you kind of know where you're going to fall as far as like within a few percentage of weight or resistance of the event. But with arm wrestling, you never know. You never know what someone could flash you that you would beat 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's true.
They flash you because you got a late start, and you never know. So I like that about arm wrestling. I honestly can't answer that question right now.
Okay, to be determined. Fair enough. So
I'm definitely
Wayne,
not going to stop arm wrestling, though. That's
an answer.
There you go.
That's good enough. So Wayne, the question for you from Cody. He said, Lucas talked about coming from the grip strength world. What were you doing before arm wrestling? What kind of like physical activities or strength-based stuff or anything like that?
For arm wrestling, no. Just trying to stay in shape in general. Nothing geared towards arm wrestling for sure. I just bench press, dumbbell press, squat, biceps, triceps, stuff like that. So nothing as far as any type of training specific for arm wrestling. No. But
so you weren't like a competitive power lifter or a football player or I don't know, wrestler or something. Any of those sports where strength plays a big part? Nothing like that.
No. I mean, I've been an athlete all my life. I played a lot of sports growing up. Everywhere from baseball, basketball, martial arts. Kind of just growing up into it. But no, nothing that I think would have helped. Nothing specific. As you ask any arm wrestler, any real arm wrestler that competes, I mean, our training regiments are kind of crazy compared to everybody else's. Some of the things that we do, if we go into a gym, they'll probably start recording us looking like fools. We'll be on one of those compilations on YouTube.
One of those gym fail Facebook posts.
Why are you only doing half curls?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
In the squat cage.
Or static holds or something like that. In the past year and a half, like I said earlier, my regimen has changed over and over and over again. And, it's become 100% geared towards arm wrestling. It's not at all that I want to build mass or anything of that nature. It's just getting stronger on the table is my overall goal. So
it's one of the things I love about this sport. No matter what you were doing before, it just has a way of getting under your skin, and you start throwing away your other goals and just like, how can I get just this one movement stronger? I gotta think, So you're right. You're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like the tools that you make, Lucas, or putting duct tape on weird things and hanging from objects. And you're right. You always get strange looks in the gym, but I love it, man.
Yeah, I don't think anything prepares you for. I don't know about you, Luke, but I don't think anything prepares you for the pain initially for a start. That was probably my biggest mountain to climb, was the pain. I mean, the first few months was just horrible. I mean, I couldn't pick my kids up, couldn't do anything at work. You name it, it was hard to do anything with my hands and arms. But eventually that goes away. But I think that was probably the biggest triumph of mine, and it's definitely a painful sport, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest triumph for all new guys. And it's really what it is too, is it's very difficult to describe it, so you really can't prepare anybody for it.
Right.
There is no description.
The
Well, I
closest thing I
usually
can
tell
say
people.
is
I usually
Luke,
tell
might,
people.
Luke might be able to.
the closest thing I can say is early baseball season when it's cold out and your arm feels like it's gonna fall off because it hurts so bad. And they keep asking you to throw it in from the outfield, and I can sit and you can barely lift your arm. It's the closest thing I can even explain.
Yeah.
I usually tell people
That's
if
true.
two or 3 days after training, if you feel like you really should go to the hospital, then everything's normal. You know, that's how it's supposed to feel. And if you throw a baseball and you feel like you're gonna throw up right afterwards, then you're on the right track.
Totally
you know?
fine.
Yeah.
I played softball 2 nights ago, and let me tell you, my arm did not feel good trying to throw a ball.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's the worst.
Lucas, someone on here is telling me that you have it. Go ahead, Wayne.
Was fun. Sorry, man. Go ahead. You're good.
That's the matter. We can just talk over each other. Who cares? Somebody out here by the name of Michael Hannes wants to know how your impeccable golf swing transfers to the table, Luke.
Well, it just doesn't compare to Michael's. I mean, he was pretty good. But I honestly have stopped pretty much playing golf for the last 2 years. The more weightlifting training I do, the worse my golf game gets, and it frustrates the shit out of me. So I've just basically put it off for now. Go back to it eventually.
Do you know who is an amazing golfer who's also an incredible arm wrestler? Is Fitzy up here, James Fitzsimmons. He was a multiple-time world champion. He's in his 60s now. He still crushes people, but he's the only thing that will stop him from arm wrestling is the golf tournament. So there you go.
Yeah, he said he rests his left hand so he can golf better, right? If
Exactly.
I remember right, yeah.
What were you saying, Wayne, before I interrupted you? If you
I don't even
remember.
remember. I remember. I think it was something that had to do with pain or something. I don't remember. No worries.
So what do you guys do for work? Do you do jobs that help arm wrestling or what?
Well, I was actually going to explain that. I'm a physical therapist, so treating my arms, actually, my coworkers help me out very much.
Oh, that's good.
So that definitely helps me. Part-time fabricator welder now. You can add that to the list.
Very nice. How about you, Wayne?
I'm a telecommunications technician, so I install and repair internet, home phone service, TV, cable splicing, working on telephone poles, stuff like that.
And your internet went out? What the heck?
Yeah, right? Actually, that was my dumbass computer that decided to update when I was talking to you guys, so it's bad timing for that. But no, yeah, my job doesn't have anything that would help in arm wrestling, that's for sure. Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Climbing poles seems like it would help if you did it without any tools, and if you just went up there and just like did it hand over hand, like in the old days. That might be. You could probably get some splinters, but it'd be worth it just for the video.
Yeah,
man.
you could get some pretty nasty splinters, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if that's OSHA compliant, right?
Yeah, I don't think OSHA exists.
Not at all.
What they don't know won't hurt them.
Well, that's what I figure.
That's true, too. Yeah.
To everybody online who's asking where Bryan is, Bryan, for whatever reason, we can't add to this call. We're going to get him on here in a few minutes, so don't worry, all of you fans of Bryan. Jeez, Bryan's got a fan club. He must have told his whole family to watch tonight, and they're all saying, "Where's Bryan? Where's Bryan?"
Soon. He was late, and then Skype and this whole thing.
What happens when you're late? Sorry. No.
All right, so let me ask you guys, since you guys haven't done a huge number of tournaments, but I assume you've done non-WAL ones, how do you feel about the rules and the starts and all that kind of stuff at WAL?
You start with Lucas if you want.
Being that I had minimal knowledge, I prefer the ref script setup. I feel like now that I've done it more, I can see how people kind of cheat their way into it between like where their hand position is, climbing, Travis Bajent. But I've gotten more comfortable doing it where you can, take as much as the ref will give you. If they call you for it, kind of back off it, and if you try to do it again, and if they call you again, then you really have to stop. I like the ref script more than the get your own grip, because I feel like a lot of people waste energy trying to psych out the other person or get a grip. I don't know. I have not enough experience with it to really say that it's better or worse. I do like the WAL setup as far as grip wise.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
How about you, Wayne?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm still kind of green in terms of how many tournaments I've competed in and whatnot. I try to train both, if and when I can. I agree with Luke that the ref's grip kind of wastes energy in that regard. And for me, I prefer wall grip. That's just something that I practice more of and I've grown comfortable with. So.
Well, I really like the speed of it, and it definitely I mean, you guys
Right.
have been around long enough to know that sometimes tournaments take 1,000 hours to get over, and the starting everybody in that automatic ref script saves a lot of time, and I do think you get a more even start. And if you have a fair cadence from the refs,
Mhm.
because in the first year they would grab your hands and they would sort of the second somebody touched their hands to close it, they would just say go. And so
Right.
whoever was closing their hand last had an advantage in terms of when they were going to get ready to go. And then they started moving it back that the hands would be closed and they would wait 1 to 3 seconds before saying go. And I actually love that because I think that's a very fair way to do it. And it's my favorite part about the WAL stuff. I know there's people go back and forth about the running fouls and all that kind of stuff, but I actually think pretty much all the things they do are awesome. But I do not like the fact
Contracts.
that the contracts are one thing. But what I don't like is that the elbow fouls are not called consistently. We talked about this in
Yeah.
other shows. It's like if you're gonna allow a half inch or whatever, fine, but keep it consistent. Where
Sure.
some people are jumping, two,
I
three
feel like
inches.
I feel like it's all or none. You got to either call it a half inch or you call 5 inches, whatever. If it's off the
Right.
pad, it's off the pad.
Yeah, that's
That's
where
the only way.
yeah,
It's the only way you can be consistent.
it's too difficult otherwise. It's an impossible job for the refs to handle. It just is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not-
it's 5/8. It's 5/8. I better call that one, not the half inch. I mean,
Yeah, it's
who's judging that?
Yeah, these guys are out there human beings and they have to call it in a split second. And then you're making them think also. It's just I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't want that job. That's for sure.
No, it's the worst
It's a
job
tough
on the
job.
planet.
It
Our
is.
job is
It's
easy.
terrible.
Our job's easy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
like to
kind of like
watch.
calling.
That's,
I like
that's
calling
I have
fouls
the
on
best job in
John.
the world.
Yeah, Josh called a foul on me once.
I love calling fouls on John. I mean, I can't wait to ref you again, man. I put on special glasses so I can see it. Just if there's even like a millimeter of elbow space between you and the pad, so I'm right there, ready to go. Whenever you need me, man, I'll be there. So, what was that? But I was gonna.
This guy.
I remember my question. So I know you've pulled with Storm, Lucas, but did you guys get to do any after pulling on Saturday or Sunday with some of the pros in your classes? And if so, how'd that go?
That's actually what I'm sore from still is the after pulling. I was Alan Fisher. He's not in my weight class, but he was there, and I was watching with him. I actually didn't get to pull against him. I just kind of was there at the table watching, learning, taking in whatever I could. Bill Logsdon was also standing there. I was listening to him. I didn't really do a lot of pulling. I did grab up with a super heavyweight pro. I don't even know what his name was. And that's probably what hurt my arm the most because I went to do some back pressure and I didn't even move his arm, and then he just went. Not fast, but like in a direction that I wasn't going in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it at all. My arm didn't like it at all. But then again, I'm pulling against a guy that weighs 280 and he's a pro. Totally different class than me. Different strength class.
Right. No, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you, Wayne?
I pulled a bunch of guys. I don't know who they are, but the two guys that I know of are Bill Logsdon and what is his name? Daniel Worley. What is his
Oh
name?
yeah, from Florida.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Left hand, no
Left-handed.
way. Just not at all. Right hand, I did okay. By the time I saw Bill Logsdon, he ended up taking my hand, of course. But I just from pulling 10, 12 other guys, I was pretty tired. But
Sure.
but he felt pretty damn
Oh,
badass
yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
Other than that,
He's,
that was
he's, he's world famous for his hand strength. Speaking of hands.
yes. Yep.
I mean,
Well,
I've trained with Brandon Elsesser a few times, so I mean,
I've pulled Brandon several times.
he competed. I mean, he also had the most controversial Facebook post in the history of arm wrestling, I
He
think.
sure did.
I remember.
The North and the South.
Yeah, we were talking about John was talking about that he'd never seen Craig say anything that was controversial on Facebook ever, and then he did speak up on that post because it even that riled even Craig Tillier. So
Yeah, in my opinion,
Yeah.
if you can get Craig Tullier to say anything, or if you have a negative opinion, then you've really done something. And he came on, he was pretty nice. He's like, dude, you really got to watch it. And that's all
Yeah.
he said pretty much. But if you get him to say that, then you've really crossed a couple lines, I think. He's just that kind of guy, you know?
Just sat back and watched.
Yeah, exactly.
So the good news is now everybody knows Brandon's name, you know? So he was,
Yeah.
people knew who he was before, but now everybody knows Brandon. So he's kind of famous.
He's a good arm
Exactly.
wrestler. It'll come with
Yeah,
time.
he is a good arm wrestler, yeah. Absolutely.
I know exactly how he did in Vegas, but I'm not allowed to say.
Oh!
We will know soon. We will know soon. So, all right, we're going to get Bryan on, you guys. I want to give you guys a chance. If anything else you want to talk about or any questions you have or anything else, any shout-outs or anything like that?
Just appreciate you having us on. I mean, more than anything.
Where can people go, Lucas, to find your stuff if they want to buy some?
Just Facebook message me. That's honestly, I don't have a web page or anything. Just Facebook message me, and I'll
right.
get it out. It's usually within the handles is usually within a few days. The pulley system is usually 2 to 3 weeks. So
Cool.
That's not too bad.
Awesome. How about you, Wayne? You want to shout out to your kids or something, man?
Well, of course, shout out to my 2 boys, my wife Stephanie. Thank you guys, thank you both for having me on. I had a great time, and
yeah.
maybe we'll do this again one day.
Yeah, man. Maybe next time it'll be because you won the pro class, right?
Yeah. Hopefully one of these years. Yeah.
I figure 2-3 years I'll be competitive in that
I
class.
love the optimism. I love it, man.
2 to 3 years.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's gonna be a lot of pain in between, though.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Just stay healthy and keep training hard, you know? That's all you can do.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We appreciate the time greatly, man. We'll talk soon.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you next
All right.
weekend.
You got it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'll be
right.
there.
See you guys. Sounds good. Both of you. Super matches,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Super
sir.
duper matches, if you ask me.
That's right. Awesome.
All right, bud.
See you guys.
All right, John. I assume you're going to have to kick me off, too, to put us back on together.
Maybe.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Those guys are awesome, man. I love,
That's fun.
that's the first show we've done with people that are relatively new to the sport, and I think it's cool. That's one thing that you got to say about the WAL. They really have added a lot of new guys into the sport. And
Absolutely.
more than anybody else, to be honest with you. And the ESPN thing is only going to make that easier. So,
Definitely.
all right, so do you have to say goodbye to me? And
I think I do.
okay, I'll be back, maybe.
Hopefully. Okay, guys, you get to see the magic again of producing a show. See, you guys probably just think it's all fun and games. It's not. It's work. And more importantly, it's work where things usually don't work. It ain't cool.
Well, there's 2 of us. We're going to have to entertain the entirety of the international world. Bryan, we're trying, man.
We're trying so hard, Bryan. You don't even understand.
We'll get him on another day if we can't get him on tonight.
It's just saying no. It's saying no, thank you. Oh, wait. Hold
Wait
on.
a minute. I'm holding on.
I'm adding to a
Standing
group
by.
call.
Okay.
We'll get him on another day if we can't get him on.
Oh.
It's saying no, thank you.
I hear somebody.
Wait, hold
Wait a
on.
minute. I'm holding on.
I'm adding to a group call.
I hear an echo.
We'll get him on another day if we can't get him on.
Can you guys hear me at all?
I can.
I can hear you.
We
There
can't.
Hey,
you
how
go.
about that?
Awesome. I can't see you, but I can hear you. So
Yeah.
All right.
we'll have to go with that, man. We're gonna roll with it. We got your voice. Your whole team's on this page over here. They all know what you look like anyway.
That is true.
So Bryan, man, sorry we couldn't get you on. You know, the Skype thing is cool, but it's it's not the best thing in the world. But we're gonna get you some time now and talk to you about the same thing we talked to those other cats about, if that's all right with you.
Bring it on.
All right.
All right, man. So you were in the 165 class, is that right?
Correct.
Awesome. Right hand, left hand?
Right hand. I didn't qualify left hand. I had surgery a few months ago, and I wasn't able to pull. So,
Well, tell us how it went, righty.
it went real well. Felt really strong. We practiced a lot with Psycho Arm Sports out of Kansas. Bo Olson's our coach, and worked quite a bit on. He told me not to make anything too complicated. He said stick with what you're good at and go with that, and really worked on our timing a lot as far as the hit, and I was able to pretty much flash everyone.
Good advice not to change too much before a tournament.
Exactly. I was all freaked out because I'm a high hooker and I have about 0 top roll, and I've got a lot of good side. I've got a lot of good side pressure, but I'm a high hooker and I've got a pretty quick hit. And he's like, forget about everything else, just focus in on that. And we did some drills at practice as far as just the straight wall setups and go, and just really worked on the hit, and it definitely paid dividends.
Yeah, preparation's important with a setup and, just reinforcing what you've already done,
Absolutely.
So did you have some battles, or did you go through the class relatively easily?
I hate this because it sounds like I'm being arrogant.
No. You tell us the truth, man. If you did well, we want to know about it.
No match took longer than a second.
That's good. That's very good. You guys all seem to have a pretty easy time of it. Yeah, we talked
a lot of it was preparation. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of it was preparation, and my wife gave me a heck of a Gipper speech before the tournament. My coach, Bo, pulled me aside and said a prayer with me beforehand, and between that and my wife kind of put me in a different zone, and I didn't even pay attention to anything else other than pulling.
Yeah.
That's good, man. There's no shame in saying you did well. You trained hard, you worked hard for it, and, you guys, all three of you guys really seems like you did pretty well in your classes without too many log matches, which is great, man. It's an impressive way to start out. Let me ask you this. How long have you been pulling? How many tournaments have you done so far? That kind of thing?
I actually started about 25 years ago. My dad met up with Mark Nelson, who used to do a lot of AAA tournaments in the Midwest. And I pulled for about a year when I was 18 years old, so I'm not really counting that a whole lot because it was just pure side pressure back then.
Sure.
And I actually started out with Don Underwood. Him and I started together, so he's way back in the day. Of course, I don't think either one of us would recognize each other if we saw each other now. But and then life hit, turned 19, moved away, didn't pull again until about 14 months ago. My brother-in-law said, hey, there's a arm wrestling tournament out in Richmond, Missouri. There's a pulling for Dalton, a young man out there that we were doing a benefit for, and drove out there and pulled amateur and took second place to Lucas Weaver, who did pretty well in Vegas as well in the 98 class, or excuse me, 95 class, and just loved it. I mean, hated the pain afterwards because I hadn't pulled in so long. I mean, I couldn't shake a customer's hand. I couldn't write invoices at their house. I mean, it was horrible. But then saw there was another tournament a month later out in Eudora, Kansas, where Psycho Arm Sports is, and went out there and won that tournament. And Zyronica Bo Olson, who was running it, I asked him, I was like, hey, where can I get one of those Psycho Arm Sports shirts? And he goes, well, I can get you one, but you can't have your name on the back of it. And I was like, why not? I want that. I want to look cool. And
who doesn't, right?
Exactly, yeah. So he goes, you got to be part of the team. And I go, okay, what does that entail? And I didn't know anybody in the sport at all, other than a guy named Tim Clem that's on our team that I pulled with 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And Bo called me the next week, and God, we talked for about an hour and a half, 2 hours on the phone. It was like we were best friends and didn't even know it. We just hit it off real well, and the rest is history. Got to join the team, and I bet I've pulled probably about 12 tournaments in the last 14 months.
Oh, great.
And did pretty well on a lot of them. I mean, you run into the occasional Ethan Fritchie where you're not even really on the table with him. I mean, you're pinned and back up at noon before a half a second's gone because he's so incredible. But I've got to meet a ton of people. I mean, there's a lot of really talented studs in the Kansas City area with Stephen Green, Bill Logston, Nick Zenna.
Yeah.
And our whole team, I mean, Ryan Johnson, Ethan Fritchie, there's a lot of really, really talented people here. So I've got the benefit of being able to pull with a lot of really awesome guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Is Ethan still pulling with you guys?
No, we've seen him at a couple of, I saw him at one tournament and one or two practices we've seen him at. He's really focusing in on rock climbing, and he's doing some physical fitness training for individuals that he seems to like.
Well, he's so strong, pound for pound. Rock climbing is perfect for him.
Oh, yeah, he's insane. I mean, when I gripped up with him, everybody was like, good luck trying to stop the hit. And I gripped up, I'm like, he doesn't seem that strong.
Small hand. That ain't nothing.
Stupid me, and he bounced my hand off the mat and back up. And, I mean, it literally felt like a tenth of a second. I was like, we're already done? How'd that happen so quick?
Yeah. And what weight class are you in?
65.
Oh, okay.
Did you miss that, Sean? We already covered that.
Yeah, I must have.
He's working on some technical stuff in the background.
So busy.
See, I have to point out when he makes mistakes because I'm his elder, and it's kind of like my responsibility to make sure that he's progressing in life. So it's part of the reason we started doing this show in the first place. So,
Right on.
so that's a joke, by the way.
It's a lie.
Anyway, yeah, it's a total lie.
It's all lies.
It's a complete fiction that I just weaved right there. So, Bryan, what's your next tournament going to be?
Gonna hit the Cornhusker Games next weekend. Cliff Hall's running a tournament up in Nebraska that some of our team's going to go up and do. He's always been a huge supporter of the Psycho Arm Sports, been a really good close friend of Bo's for a long, long time. And we do anything we can to support him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
That's great.
So it sounds like you really pull a lot of tournaments.
Yes, I absolutely love it. And it's great because my wife is absolutely enthralled with the sport. She loves the science behind it. And it's great because she's able to pick out things that I don't see because she watches the anatomy of the match versus me. I'm just looking at horsepower, basically.
Uh-huh.
And she's able to pick some stuff out. And then all the guys on our team, we've got some really technical guys like Mike Creason, he can point out any angle, stuff that I just don't see. And he makes you think about it and figure it out yourself. And then he'll reinforce exactly what you thought it was, which is fantastic. So yeah, I get to go to a lot of tournaments. It's fun. And I enjoy meeting the people at the tournaments.
Does your wife pull as well?
Nope, she's more of a spectator. I mean, she'll get on the table here with me every now and then and pull. She's got a really good hand on her, but she just doesn't have the confidence to want to try it.
Yeah, well, that's not atypical. It's just tough to get women into the sport anyway. But WAL. I mean, we were just talking before you came on, Bryan. We were trying to get you on. That one of the real skills that they've shown is bringing new people in, and I think focusing on the women, like having a women-only show that's coming up. Hopefully, that will bring in some more women. Maybe people like your wife who are sort of on the outskirts of the sport and have considered it. It would be nice to get a few more of them in because there's so many strong women out there, and I don't mean just physically, but like you're talking about your wife being a major support for you. A lot of us have that same type of situation. It would be nice to have them, for us to be able to support them on the table for a change.
Absolutely.
So we asked these other guys this question. I know you talked about Bo quite a bit, and Don. Do you have someone who is a particular inspiration for you on the arm wrestling table outside of those two guys?
Well, if I can go all spiritual, my dad. He's the one that actually introduced me to it a long time ago, and he passed away about 9 years ago, and he kind of is my driving force.
Well, so that's a good driving force to have, man.
Yeah, and
for sure.
And there's a couple guys on our team, Mike Creason, who I just mentioned, and Ryan Johnston, who comes out and practices with us sometimes. I kind of look to them if I can hang with them and beat them, then I feel pretty good about the advancement I've been able to make. And I've also got a guy named Cody who I think's on right now that Cody started roughly about the same time I am, but he is 10 times the technical puller I am. I've got speed on him, but he is so powerful. He really challenges me a lot because he's so dang strong. Mm-hmm. And we'll slow pull. When we slow pull, he's really strong, and I have to do a lot to try and beat him. But in a tournament setting, I can hit a little quicker than him, so that works out. But in practice, he really pushes me hard.
It's very important to have people on your team who are opposing styles to yours, so
Absolutely.
You know how to deal with that when you finally do get up. You pull with guys who are just like you, and well, guess what? You get good at pulling guys just like you.
Right. Exactly.
And also, I think a lot of the opposing styles thing is a mental game too. Somebody's lightning fast, like sounds like you're a bit faster than him. He doesn't have the fear anymore of getting a hit in a tournament.
Exactly.
And you don't have the fear of somebody being able to stop you anymore because the guy across the table from you, even if he's super strong, you're like, well, I can go through this guy every once in a while, so why can't I go through this guy?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So, Bryan, tell us about your training. I mean, obviously, you're training with Team Psycho, and so you're doing some table time. How often are you doing that, and what kind of weights are you lifting, if any?
We do 2 times a week pulling on the table, Tuesdays and Sundays. We get a couple hours in. We just started a new regiment as a team where we're going to basically sit and have a meeting for the first half hour and discuss a specific tactic that we want to work on as a team, and we're all going to go through that, and then we're going to go into just a hard pulling, whether it be the strap or just top roll or just hook, whatever. We're going to work on that for the first 30 minutes because wall was a very eye-opening experience for a lot of us. We saw the excitement level that it brought, and that kind of gave us a pinnacle to go after. So Bo put a plan together that, hey, this is where we're going to go and this is what we're going to do, and he hasn't led us astray so far, so we're going to follow that lead. As far as weightlifting, I hit the gym about 5 days a week, do a lot of cable machines. I don't do hardly any free weights. Just got kind of a bad back, so I don't mess with the free weights a whole lot, so I stick with the cables. Pretty much all your basic lifts. I work a lot of bands at home. I'll sit there on the table and just work on the hit. I'll put 3 or 4 bands on and kind of hold static and then go in for a hit. And that's about it. And what I do for a living too, I own a garage door company, so I do a lot of nuts and bolts, and I'll do them by hand, tightening springs by hand as far as I can go, which helps with the hook. So that's about it as far as workouts.
Yeah, I think it's important. It seems like guys who have manual labor jobs, their hands just naturally get good. And I don't know I don't even necessarily if they get good fast. They seem to have a bit better endurance, maybe because they work all day with them. They don't get blown up. They get reinforced. I don't know what it is because, I was a machinist for, almost 15 years, and I felt like maybe that had something to do with some of my success with my hand too.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Bryan, did you get a chance to pull any guys in the Pro 165s after their tournament was over?
Yes, I did. Had a good time pulling a lot of them. Fared pretty well against a lot of them. I ran into a couple issues at a couple of the 225 guys. I could pull them over on my side of the table, but they were just so much stronger than me that I couldn't finish. 65 guys, I felt fairly good with the couple that I was able to pull. Alan Fisher actually pulled me aside after I had a long match with a 225er, and it was a huge compliment. He goes, "What was your name again, and where do you pull out of?" And he offered me to come out to pull with him for a day in San Diego, which I thought was fantastic. So I was just listening to, soaking in every bit of knowledge that man has.
Yeah.
And if things work out, I'd love to be able to go do that. Just go spend a day with a legend like that and just shut up and listen, just sponge and just soak it all in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's nothing better than getting a good training session with somebody who has that kind of knowledge,
Oh, absolutely.
Where are you going to compete next, Bryan?
The Cornhusker games next weekend.
You said that, didn't you?
Yes.
Where's that one is next weekend, you said?
Correct.
I don't have that on my list, man. I wonder why I missed that one. All right, so do you have after that, do you have a plan for any big tournaments coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to try and hit some more of the PAL tournaments. We have one in September 10th that should be a pretty decent-sized PAL tournament that Bo's going to be running. So, of course, we'll have our entire team there. I definitely want to go out and hit a couple of the Rockwell ones. After talking with Travis, he seems to have a lot of, there's a lot of excitement built around that, and I like the weight classes in there. So that way we're all not trying to have to cut 15, 20 pounds in a short period of time, which is just be nice. And I like the approach of it too. A lot of people can say a lot of negatives about Travis, and it's not like he's my best friend, so I don't have a ton of basis to go on, but just judging from my gut of talking with him for about a half hour with it, I like where his mindset is, and I do genuinely believe that he's got a good idea that he's going to make work. So
the thing about Travis is anything that he gets involved in, it's going to be fun. You can't be around the guy. That's why even though he's some people view him as an arrogant arm wrestler, he's also amusing. He's fun to be around. He's hilarious. So you just, when he's involved in an event, that you're not going to be bored at the very least.
Right.
Absolutely. That's for sure.
And that counts for a lot because usually, as we said earlier, you're there at tournaments for quite a long time, and it's nice to have a little, comedy relief while you're up there watching people pull for 6 hours or what have you.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You're going to run any tournaments on your own? You interested in being a promoter one day?
I would like to. I think I've got a great wealth of knowledge around me of guys that have done in the past, and I know that I can lean on them to do it. I would like to. I think it'd be really great because I do have a deep passion for the sport, and I would, money's kind of the secondary thing. I could care less about making any money on the tournament. I would want to put on one that's, like you just said, fun, exciting, get as many people there as possible, and really make it a true event and not have the, everyday run of the mill. Okay, here's a medal, here's a trophy, something really cool like the Michigan State one where they got those badass gorillas. I think those are killer.
Yeah.
Have something cool like that.
Yeah, I want to go to that tournament. I want to at least look at those trophies. I don't know if I could win one, but I want to go down and give it a shot anyway.
Heck yeah. That'd be awesome.
Why not, man? Those are cool, man. I like to arm wrestle a gorilla, too, while we're talking about gorillas. You know what I mean, man? Why not? Just give it a shot. I saw a video of one of those guys picking up, they had to put these weights in their enclosure, and he was walking by, and he picked up this 200-pound weight and just, tossed it like it was a cardboard box. It's just incredible, man. We think we're strong, and the animal kingdom would smoke us in arm wrestling.
Right.
I don't know how I got onto that topic, but every once in a while you got to talk about something crazy, man. That's what gets views, man. See, we're gonna get an extra 10 likes on Facebook just because of the gorilla talk.
I pull a gorilla, but I think I just wouldn't want to lose anything. That's the problem.
If you can do it safely, if you can guarantee that your arm is not going to be removed from your body, you would do it.
Yes.
So, Bryan, I want to give you a little bit of shout out because you actually gave us the idea to do this show because you reached out to us, whatever it was, a week or so ago, and it was a good idea because we talked to a lot of people that have been pulling for 30 years and who are elite level in the world. But the fact is, most of us are not at that level. Most of us are somewhere in between, and so it's good talking to people that are a little bit more human than say Devin, and Travis and Dave Chafee and all those guys. So we appreciate the three of you guys giving us a little bit of time tonight and just sharing a little bit of your arm wrestling life with us.
No, I absolutely loved it. It was great. I was looking forward to it all week.
Awesome.
We want to. We've been talking about coming around to all the different teams that are within reasonable driving distance of either of us, and just doing little 5-minute videos of how each team trains. We'd love to come down and do that with you guys at some point in the future.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, man.
It really would.
All right, brother. We're gonna wrap it up, but I really appreciate you coming on. Say hi to your wife for us, and I hope everything goes well with you this weekend. And good luck at the Huskers tournament.
I appreciate it very much. You guys have a great night.
You too,
All
my
right.
friend.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Till next